Welcome back. Please welcome Dr. Alex Thomas. Welcome to the Oval. Dr. Alex Thomas is professor and chair of the Sociology Department here at SUNY Oneonta. He received his bachelor's degree from Syracuse University and his master's and PhD from Northeastern University. Dr. Thomas teaches courses like social class, urban sociology, and deviant behavior, and he does research on topics like sociology, inequality, segregation, and criminology. He's authored or edited 10 books, including Cities, Change and Conflict with President Kluninsky.
Hi.
Welcome to the
That's
Oval.
a hefty resume.
I know. So, what did you think about our hot topics?
I like your hot topics.
Awesome. So give us your little two
Like
cents.
what you guys are saying, I'm like kind of going through. I don't know. I watched the clip. I watched the clip for Dear White People, and I just didn't see. I thought it was funny myself. I thought it was. I'm looking at it. I'm like, what's the big deal here? I don't really see what the big deal is here. Where's the controversy?
Right.
You know.
They just like to make it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is no
Get
controversy.
butthurt.
Or maybe they're just promoting it for money, just to make more money, have people have more viewers and subscribers on Netflix to watch it too.
Maybe they'll get people to watch it who wouldn't otherwise watch it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, sure.
So, Dr. Alex Thomas, we got some questions for you.
You got questions for me?
Yes, we
Okay.
do. And Talea, she's going to start off with her first question.
Are we doing lightning round or are we just doing regular questions?
Regular question.
All right. So,
All right.
what is the role of racism in maintaining social class differences?
What is the role of racism in social? You don't understand social class without understand racial issues.
Intersectionality.
You don't. You can't understand it. From the birth of the American racial system back in the 1600s in Virginia, it has always been about we've got two groups that are subordinate and we need to keep them divided against each other, and it's still divided against each other. You know, and if you look at the way race operates in our class system, the way it operates in our class system is it's like a big magnifying glass. Anything that you can say about class, when you then intersect it with race, all of a sudden gets bigger. And I'll give you an idea, all right? There are 18 million people, 18 million non-Hispanic whites in the United States living in poverty, okay?
Wow.
That's about 9% of the white population, right? There are about 9.5 million African Americans living in poverty, right? So if you look at it on one hand, say, well, numerically, right? Except that translates to 24% of the African American population. So the question at this point is that when you look at it, 18 million whites living in poverty, that tells you that it's not just about race. This is about capitalism. This is about the system requiring a reserve pool of labor down at the bottom that's going to drag wages down, and that's the way the capitalist economy operates. On the other hand, when you have such a disproportionate percentage of African Americans living in poverty, that means every issue that we have then gets magnified. So we talk about, it doesn't have to be about class. It could be about, let's say, police brutality, right? So we talk about police brutality. We know, this is math, we know that African Americans are more likely to be targeted for crimes. They're more likely to be targeted for police brutality. Right? If all of a sudden you equalize it out, police brutality is still an issue.
Yes.
Right? Or if we all of a sudden equalize poverty so that across the country, 14% of whites, 14% of blacks are all living in poverty, we still have 14% of the population living in poverty. You know? So you don't understand class without understanding race. You don't understand race without understanding class. They are together.
That makes so much sense.
Wow, Jasmine, your question.
Okay. So why is social inequality increasing?
Well, that's a little complicated. There's actually a bunch of reasons. Now, if you think about what's the main reason we hear about, well, there's technology, right? And there's something to that. Like if you go about an hour north of here, we go up to the city of Utica, right? Utica had, at the end of World War II, close to 10,000 textile workers, right? By 1955, it had less than 1,000. They got wiped out. Now, the fact of the matter is those companies were still producing textiles in Utica. It's not like you're going to save those jobs. Because the way you produce textiles today in the United States is you got a bunch of machines hooked up to computers, you got some dude over in the corner with a master's degree in computer science actually running them. You don't have these, old ladies kind of humped over and kind of running the loom, right? So that's part of it, and that's the part we always hear, right?
Yes.
The part that we don't always hear is that we have been concentrating our economy into fewer and fewer hands over the last 30 years to such a great extent that it's done two things. One is that 1% has gotten very, very, very wealthy. And two, we have wiped out entire regions of the country where, kind of give you an idea, you just take banking, right? You just take banking, just finance alone. And you go back to 1950, every little town would have had its own little bank, right? Every city would have had some kind of a good-sized regional bank. Now, it's Citibank, it's Chase, it's Bank of America, right? It's TD, right? Well, what happened to all those little regional banks, right? So you come down here to downtown Oneonta, you see what used to be Wilbur National Bank, there's their little headquarters, right? But it's not a headquarters anymore, now it's just a branch, all right? And you can go in almost any city. You can go to much larger cities. Again, you go up to Utica, an hour north of here, right? Big, beautiful Savings Bank of Utica, dates back to the 1830s. 5-story building, takes up an entire block, big gold dome, right? And it's just a branch.
Wow.
Johnny Brown, you're next.
So, Professor, what are the overall trends you see with social inequality?
Basic trends, it's just getting worse, right? Social inequality has been getting worse since the 1970s. And we see this in any range of statistics. You can look at the percent of income going to the top 20% or to the top 1% of the population, and that's been getting worse. You can look at the median wages for the average worker, and that's been getting worse. There's a little bit of a hiccup towards the end of the Clinton administration where things started to improve just a little bit, and then we just went right on downhill again.
Right down that hill.
Well, hey, you know what? We are right now the most unequal that we've been since the beginning of the Great Depression.
I believe it.
Lovely.
Oh
Great.
my God. That's horrible to think about.
Can't wait to bring kids in.
Happy graduation, y'all.
Yeah.
Happy graduation.
I'm on a good note. Okay, so how do we see social inequality all around us?
How do we see it? How do we see it? We see it, you see it in the landscape all over the place. It's not just in the news. You see it in the news, you see it in the statistics, but if you really want to see it, just go out into the landscape and you think about here where we are. We're in eastern New York State, right?
Yeah.
And if you were to go into the middle of New York City, right around 110th Street, there's this big blazing line,
Yes.
right? Big blazing line. You're south of 110th Street on the east side, and you got really wealthy people like Donald, right? You go north of 110th Street, and it gets real
gets
poor real
bad.
fast,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
like people throw their trash on that line.
yeah,
Just,
yeah.
That line is clean.
You get,
Oh my God.
and you see this all through New York City. You see this concentration of poverty. There's a strong racial divide with this, right? There's heavy racial segregation, right? We think about New York as being a really diverse city. It's really a very segregated city.
Yeah.
It's a very segregated city. Then you get out to the suburbs, right? You go up to Scarsdale. Scarsdale is so exclusive, they don't have stores, right? They have a couple,
Yeah.
but they don't really have, they don't have, they're not going to have the big mall, because they're so exclusive, they don't want any of that stuff, right? And you can actually see, we can map this out and you can see these big, really high incomes. People making, average median family incomes, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. Then you get beyond that and you get, beyond the New York City suburbs and you get into these rural areas, it gets real poor again, right? And there you're looking primarily at poor whites. And actually, if you think about it, you see it right here in Oneonta. We have good neighborhoods in Oneonta, good neighborhoods, that means middle class, right? We have poor neighborhoods in Oneonta. We've got the trailer parks kind of outside of town. And then you got the single trailers that are really kind of way out in the hills and everything.
You even see it in the roads we have. Our roads are
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
beat up.
Well, I want to shift some gears a little bit with my question.
Okay.
I have two questions. How does this impact our politics, and how do you feel about the 100 days of Donald Trump? I'm going to bring out Donald Trump, guys. I
Yeah.
just had to. the first 100 days, and how does this impact our politics?
How does this impact our politics?
/ Donald Trump 100 days.
That's a hefty.
This is a
That is a heavy one. That is a heavy one. Now, that's-
Loaded question.
how does this impact our politics? Okay, we are easily diverted into issues that, though they might matter, they are really kind of getting us away. We don't talk about social inequality, really. You know, or we talk about social inequality and it's like, well, if we can just somehow get it so everybody can somehow be an entrepreneur, it's like, no, that's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. These are sort of major changes that we need to make in the very foundation of the way our politics works, you know. So, I mean, if you think about it, Bernie Sanders over in the last election cycle, right, comes out and says we need to make college education free. Forget about the Republicans here, okay? The Democrats are running around and saying, no, we can't do that. Hillary Clinton herself said, no, we can't do that. Except that all he is really saying is we take our higher education policies, the financial aid policies, we roll them back to say 1970, when college was virtually free at a public institution. Right? There's no socialism there. That's just simply rolling back the policies to a time where they were more friendly to the working classes, to the middle classes, to people of color, to everybody kind of across the board.
Yeah.
Right? But that was off the table. Right? We don't talk about, really kind of simple things. Like you think about what I described with the banks, right? You've got these major banks, they've concentrated, one buys out the other buy, and they just keep concentrating until basically you have, TD and Citibank and Chase, and, just a few of them, and just wiped out economies all over the rest of the country, right? Major regional cities that no longer have major regional institutions, right? I'm not even, I'm not even talking about an Oneonta here. I'm talking about places like Utica and Syracuse that don't have major banks located in them, right?
Yeah.
Where did people vote for Trump? Because what they see is they see, here's my city, here's how many times, go to almost any city, go to the historical section of the local history section of the library. They've got all these pictures of what their city looked like back in the heyday. People will talk about, this is what my city looked like back in the heyday. And then they turn
Oneonta
around.
has that.
Yeah. And then you look around now, you're like, wow, what happened?
Wow.
Right.
And if you're not thinking in terms of, well, really part of what happened is all the banks merged. Really, part of what happened is, this company bought out the factory down the road, and then either closed the factory, or they exported the jobs in the factory, or they mechanized the factory. So it's just some dude in the corner with a computer science degree and no workers anymore.
Okay, we're gonna shift some gears. We're gonna do some fun stuff.
Okay.
Which is called lightning round. This was too intense moment.
I was chilling. I like that.
I was like, I gotta get one of his books.
I love sociology.
I was like, why am I graduating?
Wait.
If I could add a third minor, just see if I could add a third minor.
Is it intense or is it chilling?
It's amazing. It's
I
both.
was in a trance. Like you were talking, I was like,
I know,
what?
You should do like a podcast or something.
Yeah.
Oh my
The
God.
podcast.
Forget the books.
You should come back here.
I'll come back here.
Okay, it's time for a lightning round. We are going to ask you some questions, and you need to answer them fast.
Fast.
So, Talea,
Tacos or burritos?
Oh man, burrito.
That was.
Come on.
That was a stupid question.
got
Talea.
scared.
I like tacos.
Oh, I like tacos too, but come on, taco, burrito. I'm hungry
It's like a
now.
little baby in your hand,
I
but
guess.
then you eat it.
Okay, that's
That's not what I meant.
we're not eating any babies.
I would hope not.
All right,
Summer or winter?
summer or winter? Oh, summer.
Okay, good.
You guys got to understand, right? You guys graduate. You leave here at exactly the time that people want to be here. We bring you up here when it's not tourist season, right when the place sucks, man. Right?
Yeah,
Then you
before
guys
tourist
leave,
summer.
and then we get like 500,000 tourists, and they're up here, and they're playing baseball, and they're at the lake, and all this other kind of stuff. And then it gets cold again, and you guys are back for the winter, and all the tourists are like, I'm gone.
It's like the play coming back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay. Sociology or ethnic studies?
wow.
That's loaded, man. Guy, I'm sorry, I'm a sociologist.
It's okay. I love sociology. I love sociology.
But keep in mind, sociology has ethnic studies.
It's all
Yes, it's all
interconnected.
It's all interconnected, that's right.
True. Favorite hamburger place?
Favorite hamburger place? Five Guys.
That's a good
Oh,
question.
good question.
Wait,
Okay, good
where did
answer.
you say?
Five Guys.
Five Guys.
Five
Have you ever had
Guys.
Shake Shack?
No.
Brooks?
Shake Shack is good.
Brooks, yeah.
Brooks, you go to
I had
Brooks for a
Shake Shack
hamburger?
once,
Well, like-
and it was like a squish
I'm a
hamburger.
vegetarian, but I used to.
Okay.
Okay, my question
I
is
love that
TV or
movie.
movies? Everybody's thinking about that one.
God, I don't even know.
TV or
That's not hard.
I guess TV. I guess TV because I don't really have a lot of patience to actually sit there
Yeah,
for the
you
full
gotta sit
2 hours.
down through the whole.
Oh, if
I don't have time to
Aren't
watch
you a
TV.
mascot teacher?
Yeah.
I gotta
I
sit
have
through
no
the whole
attention
2
span. I
hours.
have no attention
That's
span.
Funny.
That's like
At all.
real commitment. You want me to sit down and you want an
Yeah.
hour and a half, and if
I'm
the
gonna
movie
fall
isn't,
asleep.
what if the movie isn't any good? You know that I've just wasted 2 hours on this
But
thing.
like with your
you know?
TV series, you know it's good already.
You just
Oh,
waste
yeah?
30 minutes.
exactly.
It's not even
Every
22.
week, every
22
week.
minutes and you're done.
Unfortunately, we're
Must you
running
binge?
out of time. And let's give Dr. Alex Thomas a big hand of applause. We will be having a first ever Dress for Success fashion show. Don't go anywhere.